Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Campfire Council podcast. As always, we are excited to be here, and today we are going to be talking about Christians in a busy world. But before we get into that, I just wanted to ask, what is one place everyone would love to travel to?
Pause for dramatic effect.
Yeah, right. Wait. Cue it. Hit it, Joey. Hit it.
What?
Do it.
Yep.
Do the thing. All right. Whenever we have a moment of silence during this podcast, just going to kind of fill that space.
Yep.
Oh, dude.
Solo at the end.
Probably the Philippines.
Wow.
Go back to the ancestry. Well, I mean, where the ancestors were, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
They always tell about... different experiences that they had there, and I think it'd be really cool to just kind of relive what they lived and just see. I'm sure it looks a lot different than when they came over here, but I think really cool. And while it's pretty moist over there, I'd say it's pretty good weather, warm weather. So, and I'd have to do with like all the cousins too. It's like the whole family. I think that'd be so sick.
That would be insane.
That'd be awesome.
Kuyas and all.
And ates.
Ates.
Don't forget the ates.
What are
Titos and titas as well.
It's the female
Lolo.
version of Kuya.
Lola.
Like an elder cousin.
Oh, yeah,
like
okay, yeah, you did
female.
Ones.
Yeah.
You can go to Sumatran, right?
Sumatra.
Sumatra. Dang
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Fail.
That's where I'm
Sumatra.
going.
Nice.
What about you?
Well, yeah, for sure the Philippines, and then I'd say probably Italy as well.
Yes. Mila,
Love
we
to
can go
to Italy.
together.
Yeah.
Zero desire.
Yeah, I'd definitely be down to go to Italy. Greece would be really cool. I don't know. I think anywhere. I might be going to Mexico this summer.
Oh.
Cousin's
Dude,
having a wedding. So.
You're going to Mexico? Or you just went to Mexico? I'm going to Mexico in like 2 weeks, and now you're going to Mexico. That's
Yeah.
insane.
I'm going to Mexico.
Are you?
Actually, yeah.
For what?
Mission trip. I'm leading the
That's
high
right, you're leading
school
it.
mission trip here.
Wild.
So-
Joey, when are you going to Mexico?
I was trying to think of something to say about Mexico, but I got nothing.
No, where would you go?
Ooh, I think I would probably go to like Austria or somewhere like that in Europe or Germany. I think Germany would be sick. I've always loved the mountains and the Alps and those places, and so I've always wanted to go. Like, I just think it would be super cool. And like Madeline, when she went over for her study abroad, like her showing me all the pictures and stuff of like the architecture there and just how the culture is, like it's very, very cool. And so definitely, like, if I ever get the chance, go over to Europe somewhere like that.
Joyce, what about you?
I would do a 2-in-1. I would go back to New Zealand.
That's
'cause-
cheating. It's cheating.
No, it's
Get
not
one.
cheating. Fine. I'll just.
No, what is
put
the
out-
2-in-1? I'm curious though.
Well, because I did the North Island when I was there, and so I want to see like the South Island, what they have to offer, because it's more like the mountainous region, and then there's like a few other areas in that the South Island that I want to see. But I would go there, and then I would go to Australia for sure, just because there's plenty of things to do there.
Outback Steakhouse.
Where the steaks are out
There's a
back.
lot of outbacks there.
They're cooked right out back.
I would say Italy and New Zealand. Italy because I'm Italian. That'd just be cool to like just experience that. Plus like the food. I love Italian pasta and everything. But New Zealand for Lord of the Rings, obviously that'd be sick.
Yeah, it was the best experience of my life.
I want to
Hands
experience
down.
that.
Well, I highly suggest it. But yeah,
You just-
I would go to Australia though.
Just
Yeah.
played the Lord of the Rings like soundtrack just on repeat.
I did play it. Yeah, I did play it a bunch.
Nice.
That would be cool.
Well, maybe one day we'll all be able to travel to those destinations and experience those cool things.
Perhaps.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
But no, if you want to go ahead and take it away, we'll get started.
absolutely. Yeah. So, like the name of this name of this episode for this podcast, we're going to be going over busyness and kind of, what does that really look like for us as Christians? Should we be busy? Should we, what does busyness look like? Does it mean staying productive? Does it just mean I'm doing things to pass the time. And we can, assess those questions at any point. Also, just like I've been noticing, my life has been crazy busy lately. I juggle right now. I have a job that I work part-time. I'm also have an internship here at the church, and then I also have I'm in school full-time, and so that's just a lot. And then family and other things come up, and it's just like, sometimes you just feel like you're drowning, and you just want some time for yourself, and that can be really hard to find. And I think for a lot of us Christians, and just Americans in general, like we're just stuck in this place of busyness because we have just there's a lot of things going on all the time in America. And so, that's kind of what we're going to be going into. Do you guys have any like big questions like, is busyness wrong? Is, all those kinds of things, and we can just dive right into that.
I would say busyness itself is not wrong. I think what busyness does and how it can take away from our relationship with God, that then makes it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So, when you have all those things, if you find that you're making all this time for everything else except for time with God, then I think that we're at fault, because if you have so much time for all of these earthly, finite, like temporary things, why can't you give some of that time to the Creator, the one who gave you all that time and all that stuff and things to do? It's tough.
Mm-hmm.
Try to balance that for sure.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys feel like you are in a busy season right now?
Nope.
That's awesome,
Just
Joey's.
because work, it's like it's a slow time of year. It's not snowing around here, so there's no snow to remove and such. But yeah, it's a time where I get to like rejuvenate. So I get to spend more time on the things I want to do. So I definitely have a lot more time on my hands, but I wouldn't say it's a busy season for me right now. But I do find myself, even like with the time that I'm given, I'm not always using it to be productive. And so I think sometimes with that time, I also need to use that time productively through my relationship with God, because I've been given that time. So
I like that.
What would we say eats up most of our time when it comes to being busy? Like, obviously we have work, which takes up a lot of time, sleeping, but like what else in between those things do we think eats up the most amount of time?
I think it, like, maybe for a lot of us, it can be driving. Driving eats up a lot of time. So like we're always commuting somewhere. So whether it's to our job or to the gym or something like that, like, we're constantly on the go. And, I feel like that can be an aspect of it. Like we're busy by continuously moving and, just in and throughout the day. So like, I think being intentional on your time in that too, not just being upset that you have to drive everywhere today, or like, having road rage like Wes talked about last week. How he prays that he wouldn't have road rage and that like his drive would be safe and everything. Like he drives all day, and like that's part of his job, but there's also another aspect to that of like you're rushing to deliver and all these other things, and how we can be intentional with that time that we have while we're driving is important. And that kind of comes from the book of Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. Great book if you've never read it. It's by John Mark Comer. It's really good, and it talks about how like even being in the car, like even though like it's not, he doesn't in the book talk about like busyness. Essentially he talks about hurrying around, so like constantly on the go, and like how our attitude is towards that. In one of the parts in the book he talks about how like sometimes he used to be on the freeway and he would be like zooming in and out of traffic and just trying to get where he needs to go. Where now he's taken that like step back and he's like, you know what? I have this drive. Is it really worth it, me cutting those 3 minutes or whatever it is that, me weaving in and out of traffic? Or should I just sit in the right lane behind the grandma that's going 10 under?
No, you're supposed to sit in the left, right? Furthest to the left, you're supposed to stay the slowest.
No.
I
What?
know. I'm
Oh,
just trying
I'm
to
like, bro, you are.
I was like, what country
You're
are
that
you
guy,
from,
huh?
bro?
Yeah.
You're that guy.
Yeah. No.
That's
Oh.
right, mate. Actually, wrong country.
Yeah.
I think Australia does do right lane. That's
Um,
right, mate.
Come
There you go.
on,
Yeah.
brava.
But like,
Come on then.
he talks about that and how he uses now that time to slow down and to then reflect on God and reflect on just his day and everything. And I just think that's a cool aspect too of like how we're busy when we're driving, but taking that time to slow down and realize like, man, I'm supposed to be, obviously paying attention to the road and where I'm supposed to get to, but I can be intentional with this.
Yeah, and I think too during that time, yeah, like you said, like we can be busy and maybe we don't have that time where we sit down and we're praying with God and we're diving into the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it counts when during those busy moments in the shortest little periods of like 20 seconds, you just whatever you're doing, I don't know what it is. Maybe you're like cooking or you're, I don't know, working out, whatever. If you're not directly doing something, you can just quickly say a prayer. God, thank you for getting me to this moment in my life. Thank you for this day. I'm still standing. I'm still alive. And I just want to thank you. And then try to do that as much as you can. Actually, Aiden, I miss you. I know he's going to be here for the 0.5, but he talks about.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I know. Hyped. Lumberjack man, back in action. He's gonna he talks about this not like state of nirvana, but he talks about like a state of just like basically constantly praying. Do you know what I'm talking about, Milo? When he's talking about that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of like everything you do, you're like with God. And I think that would be so cool to have. And I think in moments I have that. Like last semester when I was really struggling, I for sure felt that God was like always beside me. And then I get caught up in the world and then that kind of fades. But like, I don't know. I think that's kind of what we're supposed to have, what we're supposed to be shooting for is just constantly, whatever we're doing, do it for God.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed too something I just thought of like when I get really, really busy, whether it's like during the work, like the busiest time of the year for work, and it's like all these things are piling up, like I almost forget to breathe. Do you ever find yourselves, you're sitting there and like, you're like, oh yeah, I just need to take like 2 really big deep breaths, like in through your nose, out through your mouth. And like, that actually helps a lot. So like having that and then like combine it with prayer, especially when you're driving. Cause like, yeah, you have plenty of time when you're driving to say a quick prayer. I don't know. It's just something I thought of though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Emilio?
No. I don't have anything to add.
That they're
Go
pulling up some like crazy like philosophy
No.
something.
Yeah, so in 2018, there was a Pew Research survey done that revealed that 6 in 10 adults in the U.S. feel too busy to enjoy life. And it says that number has held in 2023 that 60% of some 2,000 Americans believe that there are not enough hours in the day to complete their to-do list. And so like you were talking about, being busy with work, are there some days that you guys come home from work or like you're even thinking at work, like there's just not enough time to get stuff done? Or like, sometimes with jobs, I know with landscaping, like, things kind of come up throughout the day possibly where it's like, there's just not enough time to get this job done today. Like it's going to have to get postponed and like the customer might not like it, but like you're just overly busy or sometimes you're overbooked or, like, do you guys feel that there are days where you are just overly busy where you're like, man, I wish I had an extra, hour in my day to where I could be doing these things and then I'd be able to find rest after that?
In a previous job, yeah. Definitely felt like that pretty much every day. Not enough time in the day to figure out all this stuff. But not in my current job. I feel pretty confident that I can get stuff done when I need to. So I think that it's also a function of what you're doing, what your job requires.
Mm-hmm.
I think it all depends on like what your priorities are. So if we're prioritizing work, like you're saying, Milo, with a job where you felt like you didn't have as much time to get stuff done, you're probably working more hours, put in more work compared to like when you get home, you don't have much time. But I mean, for me, it's like, I know a lot of us too, like we prioritize the gym, right? So you go to work, you go to the gym, that takes up an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours of your day. But we're prioritizing that in our lives, in our schedule, along with like work. And I think for a lot of people, like you work an 8-9 hour job every single day. We have time in the day. I think it's just, what do we prioritize with our time? And I think what we eat up our time with shows what we value. So like if we're going home and we're watching TV, or we're playing video games, or we're reading, like whatever that looks like that's what we're prioritizing. And I know for me, there's nights I get home and I throw on a Netflix show or a movie. And when I could be in the Word, when I could be praying, doing those things. But I think a lot of times my excuse is like, we don't have enough time in the day. But I realize, like, I think we do have time. We just choose to spend it in other ways that might not be as useful and more just wasting time.
It's very easy to waste time.
Yeah. I
Very
mean, like,
easy.
think about the amount of times we reach for our phone, or like we're doing like nothing.
And then we procrastinate like what we're supposed to do, and that's when it hits. You're like, oh gosh, like now I have to, like when you're in school, like, oh my gosh, like now I have to do this homework assignment. There's just no time. I like, but you just went on your phone, or you just worked out, or you just whatever. And yeah, it kind of like piles up.
Yeah. And there's an interesting like concept with that. Like, it's not even us as humans, even like, yeah, I really enjoy scrolling on my phone. Like, I would say the majority of us don't really think like that we don't go on our phones because we find so much joy out of it. Like, you know, we might find a funny video here or there on YouTube or on Instagram, but like the mindless scrolling or just like the quick look at my phone for 5 minutes, like I bet we could all kind of say like it doesn't fill us. Like there is no point, and it's almost like it's just habit. And now it's that response of our brain of like, I need serotonin, I need whatever right now. Like I just need that happy emotion that I'm doing something, and then there you go. Like it's a fake way of getting rest. Like I don't know. It's an interesting concept. Like I've been noticing that a lot when I would come home from work and I just want a couple minutes to myself. Like I'll scroll on my phone, and then I sit there after and I'm like, why was I just scrolling on my phone when I know I should either be, you know, getting some of my homework done, or like starting to prep for a paper that I need to write, or even if it's just like I need to clean my room right now. Like, but instead I'll take 5 minutes, 10 minutes and sit on my phone, which makes it honestly feel like it's adding to my busyness. It's not adding to my rest.
Well, think about busyness in today's world is like one of the biggest struggles as Christians that we face. Because think about every time we're busy doing other things in our day-to-day life, like that's less time we're spending with God. So like, is being busy bad? I don't think so. But it's when it takes control of our life day in and day out. Like when we go to work, we go to the gym, we come home, we're doing chores, we're spending time with family, spending time with friends. That's all time that we could be spending with Christ, and that's hindering our relationship with Christ. And like that's exactly what the devil wants. Like the devil loves busyness. And in today's world, it's go, go, go. On to the next thing, like work those long hours to make that paycheck so you can get that perfect house, have the American dream. And it's exactly against like what we should be doing. Like think about what Christ did before he was crucified. he went with the disciples to go and pray. And when he asked the disciples to pray with him, they slept. And Christ got up and I believe he went off by himself to be alone and pray, to be with his Father. And he came back again and the disciples fell asleep again. And Jesus understood that, like, yes, sleep and rest is important, but he understood that spending time in praying to his Father was more important than sleep.
Really shows when you fill your time up with all this stuff. It really shows where your idols are at. Anything can be an idol. Working out, whatever you choose to do. And it just kind of shows, too, that we would rather store up our treasures here on earth with whatever, like you said, when you work, is that what you can buy, whatever your earthly goal is. And so it takes away from that aspect of storing up your treasures in heaven.
Yeah. And I think the interesting thing too is, like, when we look at America, when we look at our lives, we are so much more different than how the Israelites were, than how, the culture of Jesus' day was. There was still busyness, but it's nowhere near like today. And it's important to note that, like, it's in our nature to find rest. Genesis chapter 2 verse 3 says, "Then God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creating that he had done." Like, even God did work. God still does work too, and he took a day to rest, to look at all the work that he said, and he goes, "It is very good," right? Like, he takes a step back to realize, like, okay, like, I worked. I need some rest. And, I'm not God. I don't really know how God operates, but, I think it's kind of cool that God's nature in him resting, like, I feel like gives us even more of that, standpoint of we need to be resting. If God took rest, we should be resting. There's no reason as to why we can keep going about our lives, getting 5 hours of sleep, going from one thing to the next, and thinking it's okay. Like, no, you're only hurting yourself.
So how much rest is too much rest, I guess, would be a question for everybody. Like, at what point are we just being lazy? Or what does that look like?
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be just on the other side of the spectrum then. So if you're busy and it's taking away time from God, then you're just resting and it's taking away time from God, which that kind of correlates with, like, one of the 7 deadly sins. I don't know. For some reason, I thought of, like, sloth. You ever see the movie 7?
Mm-hmm.
Brutal movie.
7? No, I haven't seen it.
Ooh,
what's it about?
Are we gonna watch it? Murder.
A serial killer.
Yeah.
And, like, some detectives that are trying to track him down.
Oh, okay.
It sounds good.
Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman.
Sure.
It's so good. It's so good.
Yep.
But that was the end of that thought. Thank you for tuning in.
I don't know if I have a lot of, like, biblical basis to back this up. It's just my intuition, I think. So take this with a grain of salt. I think we should always be trying to challenge ourselves. So if you or me, anybody, if they feel like they're not challenging themselves to take on, as much work as they can do, or as much learning as they can do, then I think that may be an indication that you're not doing enough. But that doesn't mean that you don't go through periods in your life, right? Like what we were talking about before. Like you go through periods in your life where, like, this may be a time where I need to regather myself, and I need to just focus on challenging myself to grow closer to God, versus, like, taking on more responsibility with family, or reading more books, or whatever it is, So, but I think we should always be at least challenging ourselves. So if if you feel or I feel that I'm not challenging myself, that's a good indication maybe.
I think that, yeah, that's a great reminder, because even like with this slow season, I'm doing everything I want to do, but like at what point am I not challenging myself and prioritizing God? Because I'm definitely guilty of that, of like just using this time. It's where like I feel like I get to breathe, you know, like because it's not like the normal schedule for work, so it's really easy to just get caught up in me and just using it as like a way to relax and to like rejuvenate, sure, but at the same time I do need that challenge.
I just want to add this. Noah probably wants to move on or continue the topic, but I think that we should keep in mind that I try to keep this in mind, that dark times are ahead, you know, and we have to, as men, we have to prepare ourselves and strengthen ourselves for those times. You know, we need to strengthen ourselves physically, spiritually, intellectually, because we need to be strong Christian men for the people around us and for ourselves in the dark times that are ahead and on their way.
Yeah. There's a good there's a good saying that kind of goes along with that, is like, I don't know if you've heard of it, but like, pray for peace, prepare for war. So like we're always wanting peace. We don't want war, but we need to be people who know how to defend themselves, to know how to defend themselves spiritually. Like, so, you know, we're constantly in a spiritual battle, and, you know, we hope that we can find that peace and that rest in Jesus, and we can take that time, take that Sabbath, right? But also, like, even in the busyness of our day, like, there is a war going on in our minds. There's Satan trying to get at you with temptation. There's Satan trying to tell you, you know, you should be angry at that person for cutting you off, like, whatever. Like, there's so many different aspects where, you know, we have to pray for peace. We want peace, but we also have to be there to, like, prepare for war. We got to mentally put ourselves in that state of mind of, like, you know, there are things that are going to come my way that I don't want to happen, but, like, I need to be ready.
What are some tips or advice we can give anyone listening or people who struggle with being busy, just in life in general, whether you're Christian or not, but especially for those who are trying to further and grow their faith when it comes to busy seasons of like school, sports, work? Like, what are some things that we have or can implement into our lives that would be good advice or tips?
Well, I mean, looking at, oh, sorry, did you want to say something? No. Looking at Jesus, like, multiple times in Scripture, we see in Matthew 14:23, after he had dismissed them, he went up on a mountainside by himself to pray. Later that night, he was there alone, and it goes on more and more. But, like, he specifically took, like, Jesus, the guy who's healing everybody, who's God in flesh and blood, like, he, you know, is proclaiming the news of his Father to others and proclaiming the news of salvation in him, like, all these other things. And he even took time out of his day, even though he's God and man, he still took time to find rest, to, you know, go and spend time with the Lord. And another place it says, Luke 5 verse 16, it says, but Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed. So it's not even like that one time where he went up on a mountainside and prayed. Like, it says he often withdrew from what was happening, what was going on. Maybe there was a big crowd and he's like, you know what, I've been working a lot, I need to take some time to get refilled. And that's that aspect of, we can't pour on an empty cup.
So you're saying just have that intentional time cut out of your day?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Like, you know, if we want to be more like Jesus, then, and this is a struggle even for me, like, if we want to be more like Jesus, we have to be also people who know how to take care of ourselves and to take care of our own walk with him, and take, even if it's just a small amount of your day, you know, 15, 30 minutes where you can intentionally draw back and be like, you know what, I need to take a pause from today, and I just need to sit with God, belt out whatever you got going on. Like, if you're just very frustrated with life, how it's going, like, you need to take that step back and be like, okay, I need to really focus on getting my mind right.
Yeah, and that's the hardest part when you do have a busy lifestyle, is trying to find that time and actually committing to it. Kind of going like what you said, different tips. I just wrote down a few that work for me. That I like to look over scripture weekly, and I like to, on the little Bible app, there's a little option that you can save the verse behind like a cool image or something. And so that's probably the first thing I would recommend, because it's on your phone. You take your phone everywhere. Sometimes I'll be like in between a set or whatever, and if I'm trying to memorize a verse, or if it's just something that I want to read, because I have like 50 of them saved at this point now. I don't have them all memorized, but I have a lot of them saved. And I'll just kind of like look through them. And that's just a moment in those busy times that I try to give over to God, even if I'm not like actively praying or like in the word, very deep. Like, I think it counts.
Mm-hmm.
And then reminders on your phone, or maybe little notes. My fiance likes to write notes on like Post-it notes around the house that kind of help remind you, and just write down scripture. But it can also just be set a timer, like 10 minutes before you go somewhere, and just talk for like a couple minutes before you go, and just kind of reminds you. Because I think what happens in order to break the cycle is you do need kind of something that interrupts your busyness. Because if you're just in the mindset like, okay, I've got this and then this and this and this, if you have a timer to just kind of like block that off, like all of a sudden your phone goes off and it says pray or thank God or whatever it says, I think that kind of helps us get out of that routine of putting too much in front of us.
I like how Jesus removed himself from the area too. I think that's really important. Of like, so like, let's say in the corporate work setting, just going to the bathroom, and let's say you don't even have to use the bathroom, but like getting yourself up out of your chair and then just finding that quiet space to then pray, and just take that time to meditate, because then it's quieter, and you're less likely to get distracted, so that you have that time set aside. I know for my work, like when I'm driving, I do lots of driving for my landscape job, and so I'll use that time to like kind of like ease the tension throughout the day, because a lot of the times it is like busy, and the boss wants you to go do this, go here, go there, so it's like lots of running around for me. So I notice I use that time when I'm just sitting and driving. So like I think that's really beneficial to remove yourself from an area and just find a quiet spot wherever that may be. I think that would be a good tip.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's, I like to use a lot of, like, when we're going over discussions like this, I like to use got questions, and it's just really good. Like, it's a biblical thing, and you can type in whatever you want in like the search bar, and it typically will have like a summary or like an excerpt from an article or whatever commentating on that thing. And so like I just typed in, what does the Bible say about being busy? And when you were talking about distraction, like it even goes in and says that while Satan is the prince of darkness, he's also it's always kind of funny, but like he's the duke of distraction. And like, so he's also,
That's so corny.
I know it is. But like he's also trying to get you away from,
He's got a spectacle.
Yeah.
He's the Duke.
I'm the Duke. Get distracted.
Sorry, Noah.
No, that's why I said it's funny. Like, but like how he's also trying to get you off of what you're supposed to be doing. Like, so there's an aspect of that of like being busy because it's important, because it's our job, because we need to be doing that right in that moment. But there's also then that like Satan's also trying to take you from what's good and trying to benefit you, and he's trying to be like, here, like spend 10 minutes on your phone doing nothing. Like, and that's so true, I think, just like how quickly that can happen.
Yeah, and I think the problem with scrolling too is that that can also lead down another sin. So not only are you distracting yourself, but now, you know, you see things on Instagram that lead you down the road of temptation. You know, you see things that you probably should be looking at, or for some people it's like jealousy, like you see somebody else's life and of course they only post the best parts of their life or the, you know, coolest things. So you see that and you're like, wow, they have such a great life. And I'm just here, I'm sitting here just on my phone. And so, yeah, it's kind of like twofold with the problems.
Yeah.
Well, probably more, but
I also want to add too, like, it's okay to say no to things. Like, one thing that I've been trying to work on too, like anyone out there, we don't have to do everything that this world has to offer. Like, yes, we wanna have a social life. Like, we wanna make money, we wanna make a living, and that's fine. But sometimes, in order to do the things that are most important in your life, you have to say no to other things. And as Christians, like, that should be the number one important thing in our life. And I know for me, I feel this all the time, and it sucks. But like, I go to work because I'm obligated to. Like, I need to have a paycheck to pay for bills, you know, save for retirement, all those things. But it's like, I make the time to go to the gym. I don't need to go to the gym, but I'm at the gym every day. But am I reading the Bible every day? Not always. Am I talking to God and praying every day? Not always. But I have that time. It's just I choose sometimes to spend it in other ways. And, you know, like God, you know, we should be social. We should hang out with friends. We should see family. We should go, you know, enjoy life in a good way. But like, it's okay to say no. Like maybe there's a weekend where you don't go and hang out with friends. You lay low, do some extra reading, do some extra meditating. It's okay to do that once in a while. And I think that's one of the hardest things that I struggle with, is because I like to be social. I like to hang out with friends. I like to hang out with you guys. And it can be tricky sometimes when you got things going back to back. And like I said before, it's busyness is such a big distraction in our journey in our faith with Christ. And it's just being able to know how to navigate that of being busy. So like I said, you know, try saying no once in a while to things that you can say yes to Christ.
none of you have seen the musical Hamilton, right?
Mm-mm.
No.
Not yet.
Musicals, what are those?
Dang. All right. Well, there's a song that's like, I don't want to say no to this.
How'd that go?
Clip it.
Clip it.
That's your job.
I did have
That's right.
I did have one quote to add. No, because like you mentioned, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, such a great book. I got it here.
Does everyone call it dog ear?
Hardcover?
When you
yeah.
flip the page.
Yeah, that's dog earing.
Oh, really?
Do you
Like-
think
like
everyone says it's dog ear?
No,
I've never
I have
called that.
literally never heard that
Oh,
before.
You've never
that's-
heard that?
That's what I call it.
Okay.
Well, I got my page dog-eared here.
He's got it.
Oh, is that how you would use it in a sentence?
Yeah.
I dog-eared this page.
Right. To like bookmark it.
Kind
or,
of sounds
like,
a little, I don't know.
I folded the
Weird.
page, so I knew
Yeah.
where to open it.
That's much better.
I saw
There
it
you
and I just had to say it, all right?
All right, so
Go
there
ahead.
is a spot in the book here with this quote that says,
go. Come on. Go ahead.
most of us have more than enough time to work with, even in busy seasons of life. We just have to reallocate our time to seek first the kingdom of God, not the kingdom of entertainment. And I like that quote a lot. I think it's a good summarization of kind of like what we're all saying is we have the time. It's just, are we choosing it for entertainment or for Christ?
This is really convicting, I feel like. Because I feel like all this, now I'm realizing like how much free time I actually have.
Same.
And it's like, dude, what are you doing?
Literally how I
Come
was
on.
just talking about how I played video games for like 4 hours. And it doesn't happen often, but like that was like the first time this month where, you know, I've had time where I'm like, yeah, I don't have to worry about school and or anything else, and instead of literally leading into the Word and reading another book or whatever, like I took time to play video games for that long of a time. It was still good. I still felt rested, you know, resting from my actual work, but there's aspects of that where it's like that's entertainment. That's not even
Also, video game Noah is very scary.
yeah.
It's a,
Yeah.
it's a
Really?
different Noah.
Yeah,
Really?
he's good.
The aggression comes out.
I'm-
Wait,
like
what? On what game?
any.
Any.
We were playing Fortnite. He's just wrecking
Really?
people. Yeah.
Dude, why was I not here for this? I gotta see this.
I
Dude, you're not beating me though. You're not beating me though. That's what's crazy.
Yeah.
But Warhammer 40K bolt gun.
Dude, I just
Getting
get
serious up in
going.
here.
I get into a grind, and
That game is sick.
dude, it's so much fun.
Dude,
Um,
Mario Kart. Yeah, that was the
Mario
end of that
Kart
thought.
we,
Double
we,
dash.
we tanks.
Okay, cool.
We tanks, dude.
I
I was always blue.
No, but you mentioned like, more like that busyness and that aspect, and I want to kind of move on to something different, where it's talking about how in the church, the early church, Paul writes to the church in Thessalonica.
Yeah.
The made up words.
Fake.
Yep,
Fake.
absolutely. And it's in 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, verses 11 and 12. And it says, "We hear that some among you are idle and disruptive. They are not busy, they are busy bodies. Such people we command and urge in the Lord Jesus Christ to settle down and earn the food they eat." So, it's touching on, it says they're not busy, they're busy bodies. So they're just constantly moving. They're constantly doing things for other people, or they're constantly doing things for themselves even. And they're not actually like being intentional with their busyness and being productive. And so that kind of also goes back to like to work and to homework or whatever it may be. Like, they're just busy bodies. They're not actually being intentional with their busyness. And it's interesting too, we see an aspect of this when Jesus visits the home of Mary and Martha, and Martha's running around and she's like, can you tell Mary to like, help me clean up the house and do all these things. There's so much to prep. And Jesus is like, don't you get it? Like, Mary's sitting at my feet, listening to me intently, and you're over here worrying about the house being cleaned up. Like, that's the kind of attitude that that it's kind of saying, is like, we're busy bodies. We're just trying to do things to like. Now, I'm not saying that what Martha was doing by cleaning up the house is bad. Like, obviously, that's a good thing. You should always keep your house clean. But when Jesus is there, when you're in the presence of the Lord, you should be sitting intentionally and intently, like listening to what he has to say, and then also paying attention.
I love that example a lot. Like, it's such a good picture too, because just thinking about being busy as Martha, right?
Yeah.
Going around cleaning.
Yeah,
It's like,
I believe it's Martha.
Yeah,
I
it's
could have
Martha.
gotten switched.
No, it's
Martha?
and it's
Martha.
like, it's learning how
Martha.
Come
to,
here.
like, just in today's world, just being present with the time that we have. And like, that's so hard to do. Like, I even find myself at times when I pray, like sometimes just sitting still can be difficult. And that's kind of just really crazy to think about. Like, even when I'm praying, my body sometimes is still like trying to move.
My body is a cage.
Yikes.
Sorry.
Is that a song?
It
It
is.
is.
Yeah.
It is.
Boundaries, go check them out.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Shut up.
And it's just kind of crazy. Like, we just taking time to just be in the moment. One, to like be in the presence of God, but also just like enjoying the time that we're blessed with. Like going outside and enjoying nature, like finding some rocks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Open up some Pokemon cards. Like, just enjoying the time that we have. And one thing too that I'm going to try doing is, like, for people too who are more like to be more structured, like, let's try scheduling time to spend with Christ. Because I know for me, if I push it off to the end of the night, it's probably not going to happen.
You're gonna get sleepy.
I'm going to get sleepy. I'm going to fall asleep
Yeah.
in probably 3 seconds.
Yeah, baby, even quicker. I was telling these guys the other night, like, one time we got home from Bible study, and it must have been like 2 minutes max, and I heard you snoring in your room, like you were just knocked out. You
That'll
fall asleep real
happen.
quick. But yeah, I like that idea of scheduling.
Because, like, we schedule everything else. We're scheduled to go into work. We schedule time to go to the gym.
Yeah.
We schedule time with friends. Like, if we can set aside 10, 20, 30 minutes, and it doesn't have to be like every single day for a super long period, but like Thursdays we have our Bible study. Sunday we go to church. Like, set aside some time, schedule it, spend that time with Christ, being in the moment, and we can get that time, and like then we can go on with our day, and we don't have to feel guilty then about relaxing, watching TV or gaming, or like going spending time with friends. And we can still have more time throughout the day, but I think that's a good start to like tell yourself, I'm going to spend time with Christ at this time, and be there and be intentional, and then we can continue to go on with our day.
Yeah. And I'll kind of say like this other verse too that it's big on that, and it's big on giving your requests to God and giving your busyness up to God, like your life, giving him control. Matthew, I think it's chapter 11. Yep, Matthew chapter 11, verses 28 through 30. Come to me, all you who are wearied and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. Yes, he said yoke. Oh, and he says it again.
Is it firm though, or is it like a hard yoke?
Well, I'm
or
assuming
what?
because it's light, it's a wet yoke. So for
That's
my
too light,
yoke,
though.
for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. I think it's confirmed Jesus likes yolky eggs. That I don't
It
actually
is.
mean
I
that.
think you're tripping. I think you're tripping.
Please don't cancel me for heresy. But like leaning into that, just Jesus invites us to rest. He's not saying like you need to rest, you need to keep the Sabbath holy. Like he's like, no, like just come to me. Like you can find rest in me, whatever it is. Like just give him the control. Give him your burdens. Give him everything that you have, and he'll help to give you that rest. Like I even notice sometimes too, I'll be at work and I'll be praying just about how I gotta get this job done within the next hour, and I'm just really stressing, and there's other things that like are on that are coming up on my plate for things that I have to do. And like even just that simple prayer of like, God, like I know you're in control of all things, help me to just have a little bit of the strength right now, and also just help me to find rest in you, no matter what happens. And just kind of giving him in a sense, like giving him the work that I have to do, and just working, not worrying about the time frame, not worrying about all these other things, not worrying about what my boss is going to say, just give him all of that worry and anxiety and all that busyness in my mind, and then just working.
It's also really stress relieving to understand like when we are busy and give that up too. Like I'm a lot more stressed when I'm super busy. Like when work is going, it's kind of crazy. You got a lot going on the weekend. Stuff's going on with family, whatever it might look like. I'm more stressed. But when we can learn how to navigate to either say no to more things or find time to slow down, like that's how I recharge. Like I love being with people. I love talking with people. I love going doing fun things. But like I need time, just like Christ needed time when he was with the disciples before he was crucified. Like he needed time alone. And like you're saying before, Noah, like God rested on the seventh day. And like who are we compared to God? Like if God's resting on the seventh day, like we better be taking time for ourselves to like slow down, get sleep, rest, and recharge like that. But this kind of all comes like full circle again. Back
does.
to it always does. Back to one of our first episodes, spiritual discipline. Like slowing down and being in meditation or whatever that looks like, that's a spiritual discipline. So if you haven't seen that episode, I recommend going back and listening to it or watch it. And that's something really good that we can learn and practice on getting better at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, also that I'm going to like reiterate it again. Yes, Joey. Thank you. I love it.
That's like a cartoon noise or something.
I know.
That's gonna be
That's
like
awesome.
our like trademark or signature thing
Right.
now. You're gonna bring that every time.
Just like I've mentioned it a couple times, just how, it's the busyness in our minds. It's not even just the busyness in our lives. Like, we have so many interesting things and fun things and stressful things in our lives that we're constantly thinking about. Like,
That's deep. That's deep, dude.
actually, or like,
No, I'm serious. Like I like how you phrase that. I like how
Yeah.
you phrase that. Because yeah, even if you're not busy in your actions, you're busy in your mind.
yeah, like
Write
I
a book.
find it hard just to like have that clarity of just like I can just shut off my brain, like not think about, even just the littlest of things. Like they just clog up your mind, and they like the Duke of Distraction. I gotta say it again because like it's a cool way of putting that. Because now you're gonna remember it too. It rhymes, not rhymes, but goes together. Anyways, but just like how it's distracting me from my life. Like it's distracting me from the things that I should be focusing on. Just even my thoughts, even my mind. Like I don't know if you guys have ever felt this, but when you're praying or when you're reading your Bible, like are you guys thinking about other things? You're thinking about what you're going to eat within the next like half hour or whatever. Like, it happens. And, I'm not saying that your thoughts are bad. I'm not saying, you can't think about those things, but just be cognizant of that. Next time you're reading your Bible, next time you're praying, next time you're doing something, kind of take hold of like, what else am I thinking about right now? Am I truly being 100% intentional about my time with God right now? Am I truly being intentional with where my thoughts are going? Or am I being busy? Am I running around in my mind trying to do a million different things, think about a million different things, and not giving that rest that my mind needs in that moment? Being intentional with the Creator.
On God.
For real.
It always sucks too. Like the good things that we should be doing in life are always the hardest. Like going to the gym, eating healthy, all these disciplines that we should be doing in our life, like they're always the most challenging, but they're also like the most rewarding. And the more time we can get better at learning how to slow down in our busy lives, taking that time, the more used to we're going to be doing that. Or on the flip side, like the more we continue to be busy, to say yes to everything, like our bodies and our minds are going to be so used to like on that go, like you said, Noah, praying. And like I find myself praying and my mind's just wandering, or I'm reading through scripture and I read a scripture and it's like, what did I just read? Because my mind's 3 steps ahead of me thinking about what I'm going to do after I'm done reading.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just training and learning how to like slow down, be in that moment.
Yeah. And I will admit it's hard. It's gonna be challenging the first couple of times you really try to focus on it. And obviously no one's perfect here. I'm not perfect, certainly. But like
Joey's close.
I was
He's
just waiting
close.
for someone to say it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
stressing me out.
He's pretty close.
Either I'm gonna say it or
he's
you
the
are.
new face of Pediasure, so I mean
Sponsor them.
Right.
But yeah, like it's just that discipline, that practice, right?
And even too, like think about like when we're hanging out with, all of us hanging out, or like you're hanging out with friends or family. It's like no one wants to have someone with like a conversation, or you're spending time, like you schedule time out of your day to go see your family or friends, and they're just like being a Martha, going around cleaning, prepping for things, or like they're on their phone. Like we get it, things need to get done, but like when you intentionally schedule time with someone, like you want to be there with that person in that moment. And I think that's what our relationship with Christ should look like. And that's a good way to practice too, just with people and your everyday interactions. Like, put down your phone, Set aside those things for that couple hours, that couple minutes, so you can have those good conversations. You can practice that, because I think that's going to carry on into our spiritual lives as well.
Absolutely.
Anyone else have any thoughts or anything?
I'll just say this, what is one thing that you guys can be working on this next week of trying to find that rest, trying to find, yourself in God's presence and focusing on Him rather than focusing on all the busyness of life?
I liked what you said, Noah, just being intentional with that time. So I have that time, right? So I just need to be intentional with that. So that's something I'm going to work on.
Nice.
Tomorrow, I hope you guys can make it, but
I'll be there.
Yeah? Good. I think we've mentioned this in the past, how we, on like a Saturday or something, we'll set apart 2 hours for us to individually just go off, do whatever we want. You don't even have to dive into scripture, but just try to have some time with God. So I'm looking forward to that tomorrow. I'd say that's another tip that I would recommend is on a day that you don't have work, maybe you're going to take a rest day, you're not seeing family on that day, maybe that's the day that you should take in your week, maybe just once a week. You don't even have to do 2 hours. Just start with like 30 minutes and just try to have that time.
Yeah, that's great advice. I'm going to, like I said before, I'm going to try scheduling like at least one more day out of the week to get some kind of time spent with God, whether it's reading, being in the Word, praying, meditating, or just slowing down in general too, and just scheduling out some time like that to get one more extra day in the week.
I'm just gonna keep on doing what I'm trying to do, and do my daily Bible study and pray as often as I can, and be mindful of where I'm at and mindful of keeping that conversation with God going.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm super happy, Noah, that you brought up wanting to have the topic of busyness as Christians. I think it applies to all of us, and I'm assuming anyone out there listening or watching. But hopefully you guys could get some tips, advice, and hopefully we took some things away from this conversation. I know I did. And just learning how to say no more to entertainment in the world, and learning how to say yes more often to Christ is going to make a huge difference in our lives and in our spiritual walk that we have with Christ. But off of that, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. This is the Campfire Council Podcast.
Just because why not?